Welcome to another edition of our community. This is going to be a special program. It's the first part of a two-part series with Dr. Charles Mitchell, and he's going to tell of his experience in World War II during the Battle of the Bulge. And I'll be right back with Dr. Mitchell right after these words from our sponsors. Welcome back to a special edition of our community. I'm very honored to have Dr. Charles Mitchell with me today. Dr. Mitchell is a veteran of World War II. He was a family physician in Sparta and White County for 40-something years, been a member of the Rotary Club for 50 years, served on the county commission, and served on as a city alderman. Dr. Mitchell has served his country in many different ways, and as I said, he is a veteran of World War II, and he participated in the Battle of the Bulge, and I wanted him to come and be on the program and kind of tell everyone about what he did and what his company did during World War II, and then we'll talk a little bit later in the program about his service to the community after he served in the U.S. Army. Dr. Mitchell, welcome to the program. It's an honor to have you here. And if we can, let's begin by your service to the country and during World War II in the Army. I think you told me that you graduated from the University of Tennessee. You was accepted into medical school, but you got a call from the Army. Can you pick it up from there and kind of tell us what happened about your training and just go from there?
Okay. I went to the University of Tennessee, graduated in 1942 there. I was in pre-med training for going to medical school, and was accepted by at medical school as I graduated in 42. I also went to college ROTC to help me. They helped pay for my education. As I graduated in 1942, the war was starting then, Pearl Harbor and that, so they needed soldiers. I got a letter from them, and in fact I got a phone call from them saying that you are now a second lieutenant, and that you will present yourself at Fort Knox, Kentucky instead of medical school, that they needed line officers a lot more than they needed doctors right then at that time. Yes. So I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Okay, and tell us about the training that you received at Fort Knox and what type of unit you were in.
I trained at Fort Knox. Of course, we went through the regular officers training corps there at Fort Knox. We trained on all the different kinds of tanks, all the different kinds of weapons, and we ended up by they formed two armored groups there, consisted of 2 tank battalions and 1 armored infantry battalion. Those 2 armored groups, and we established 3 armored infantry battalions. The 2 armored infantry battalions joined the 1st and 2nd armored group and were shipped out, and then left 1 armored infantry battalion there by itself. That was my battalion, 526, and we were a separate armored infantry battalion, the only separate armored infantry battalion in the United States Army, and from there we took on all different kinds of activities.
Okay, sir, how many men, approximately how many men are?
There are about 1,000 men in a battalion.
1,000, and how many men were in your company?
About 200 men in my company.
Okay, and after training at Fort Knox,
Knox, Kentucky.
What happened then?
Then we were called. Patton was active in North Africa, getting ready to go, and he wanted some troops trained. So we were sent to the Mojave Desert, the battalion as a whole, to train in the desert out there. And that's where I first met Patton. And he became a friend of mine, and we have talked many times after that. But I trained my battalion in the desert, Mojave Desert, for North Africa.
Yes, sir. And then what happened?
Well, the colonel called me and says, "Get your company prepared. We're getting your half tracks and putting them on the train. We're leaving." I thought, oh, we're going to Africa or someplace. We ended up in Brooklyn Navy Base in New York City, and ended up in Europe, and we went from there to Wales on the ship, on board ship.
Yes, sir. And then you got to Europe, and then where did you proceed from there?
Well, then we had D-Day. D-Day took place, And about 7 or 8 days after D-Day, we landed on the beach. Thank goodness that all the fighting and all the was over on the beach at that time, and we were able to move interior of France without having to be engaged in any fighting.
Yeah, and D-Day was June the 6th, 1944. Is that
Yes.
correct? Yes, sir.
Right.
So you guys, you got on the beach, you got inside, kind of off the beach, and then where did you go?
Then we went to Apple Orchard in France, where we bivouacked in the apple orchard. I looked up one morning, and here came a general officer with my battalion commander, and he walked up to me and was patting. He had found out that my unit was there, and he was getting ready to move across Europe. Then he needed reconnaissance bad. He knew we were in half track. See, we were very mobile. So he told the colonel, he says, I want Captain Mitchell's outfit to do reconnaissance for me. So I did reconnaissance for patting all over all the Europe, all around Paris and on up to the Belgian border.
Okay. And you were a captain then. You went in as a second lieutenant. So
yes, sir.
You made captain pretty quick.
Well, yeah, but yeah, finally I got accelerated a little bit because the company commander of A Company, which I am the company commander of, got drunk, and the colonel relieved him, and he just looked around and see who could put in charge, and so he selected me to take over for him. So I got a company kind of earlier than I would have ordinarily.
Okay, in the Belgium, you guys are going into Belgium now, and I think you got assigned to a different unit. And tell us what happened.
Well, when we got close to Belgium, we've been fighting all over through there, you know, and doing reconnaissance for him. So he said, we'll give you a little rest. We'll send you over in Belgium and for a rest. So we went to Belgium and close to Luxembourg and all up in through there. And we got in the chateaus, you know, and places, you know, and our men had a chance to rest, relax, go to the bars and all like that. And then one morning the colonel called me down to his CP, and that's when everything broke loose. He says, I've been informed that the Germans are making a counterattack through our area. Said, we have got to organize here and get something done. So he says, be prepared to leave in the morning. At about 2 o'clock, we're going to leave, and we're going up closer to the front. So I got my company ready and mounted up, and at 2 o'clock we was on the road. We ended up, but the rest of the battalion went to a town called Malmedy. And the colonel says, you're going to another little town called Stavelo because we need somebody there. There's a bridge across the river there, and we need it protected. We want you to go with your thing, and we're going to send some anti-aircraft people along with you.
We're going to sneak away for just a few minutes, and I'll be right back right after the word from our sponsor, Dr. Welcome back. We're going to join Dr. Mitchell with his life story. And I think you got assigned to a different unit. And tell us what happened.
Well, when we got close to Belgium, we've been fighting all over through there, you know, and doing reconnaissance for him. So he said, we'll give you a little rest. We'll send you over in Belgium and for a rest. So we went to Belgium and close to Luxembourg and all up in through there. And we got into chateaus, you know, and places, you know, and our men had a chance to rest, relax, go to the bars and all like that. And then one morning the colonel called me down to his CP, and that's when everything broke loose. He says, I've been informed that the Germans are making a counterattack through our area. Said, we have got to organize here and get something done. So he says, be prepared to leave in the morning. At about 2 o'clock, we're going to leave, and we're going up closer to the front. So I got my company ready and mounted up, and at 2 o'clock we was on the road. We ended up, but the rest of the battalion went to a town called Malmedy, and the colonel says, you're going to another little town called Stabilo because we need somebody there. There's a bridge across the river there, and we need it protected. We want you to go with your thing, and we're going to send some anti-aircraft people along with you, and you're going there. And so we left. We took off and left the battalion and went to Stabilo.
I think you arrived at Stabilo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, about 4 o'clock in the morning.
That's right.
Was that on the 16th of December, or was that the 17th?
17th.
17th of December.
Yeah, when we got there, we were attacked that same morning.
Okay. So on December the 17th is when you really got involved with the Battle of the Bulge.
Yes, sir. Okay,
and you guys were there to protect that town. And tell us why it was so important for your company to hold a line there.
The Germans wanted to get across the river, and they wanted to go north, but we were about 30 or 40 miles away from there. Was 1st Army headquarters, and they had to be protected, and we were the only unit between the Germans and the 1st Army headquarters, and we had to do our best to stave off the Germans until reinforcements could be brought in to help us.
Okay, and I think you positioned some of your men across the bridge and then some of your men on the other side of the bridge. Kind of tell us about that.
Well, that morning I sent a platoon of half-tracks over across the bridge, and we went up by saying, well, let's see if we can make contact with the Germans anywhere. So they went across there. They hadn't gone very far, about 2 miles, when they called me on the radio and said, we hear the rumble of tanks everywhere. We just hear all of a mess. I said, well, turn around and come back and across the river. Well, unbeknownst to us, the Germans had infiltrated the town on the other side of the river, and when the platoon started coming back, they were shot at from the buildings, and we had to, from our side of the, we had to protect them. Some of the tanks were some of the half-tracks were knocked out. Some guys jumped out and swam the river, and 2 or 3 of them got back across the river. The bridge was supposed to be mined by the engineers, but they got scared and ran off, and we didn't get it mined.
And before we go any further, let's explain exactly what a half-track is. A lot of people may not know. Tell us what a half-track is.
A half-track is an armored vehicle with seats on each side, kind of like an open truck, but it was armored on each side. And it held 10 men, a squad of